Hey everyone, Dukaness here with a video focused on the Aksis challenge mode. I already published a video on this before challenge mode was even a thing. However, that was almost a month ago. Things change, strategies get fine-tuned, strategies become obsolete, and new strategies are innovated. While the old video was good and absolutely still works, after 4 weeks, it's no longer the best information out there. So we're going to do an update today. I posted my original Supercharge guide on Reddit, and I got feedback from a great community. People threw some brand new ideas at me and suggested modifications to my base idea. Since I think videos and forum posts should be a conversation and not a battle of who's right and who's wrong, I'm not going to give you one strategy in this video. We're going to cover 3 different ways that you can approach this challenge. I find every strategy works, and I have tested every strategy, but they have a different balance of complexity and margin of error, meaning certain strategies are easy to understand, but are more prone to error, whereas other strategies are more complicated, but leave you more room for error. I'll let you guys decide which ones your team prefers. We'll kick things off with my original recipe. The next 97 seconds is a direct cutout of my original video. I wanted to do a remake, but I literally would have said the exact same thing, so I figured I may as well just keep it the way it is. If you're new here, the entire video is linked in the description. It both explains the Supercharge mechanic and breaks down the strategy. So if you're unfamiliar with challenge mode, watch that video first, because this one assumes you know the basic principles. We're only talking strategy today. If you just want a good refresher of the original strategy, continue watching, or you can click the annotation on screen to fast forward to the other strategies. For every teleport, you will have one empowered player on the left, on the right, and in the middle. Even if Aksis is already on a certain side, you still position someone on that side because they have to cover the Supercharge square when he moves. I've set my team up in a way that covers every teleport and Supercharge combination, which we're going to talk about right now. Your left player will stand here, on this yellow square. Your right player will stand here, on this yellow square, and your middle player will stand halfway up these stairs. I'm going to run through the different scenarios that each empowered player will face. In this situation, Aksis goes right. Daft was the right empowered guardian, so he slams Aksis. As the middle player, I make my way to the middle square. I see that left is open, so there's nothing for me to do. Choco was left, and he correctly covers the left square. Here, Aksis goes inside. As the right empowered guardian, I slam Aksis. While I'm doing this, the middle player would cover the right square, and the left player would cover the left square. Look at this situation where Aksis goes outside. Choco covers the left square, while I turn and cover the right square. I supercharge the team, and JP, who is the middle player, slams Aksis. Last example. Aksis teleports left. As the right empowered guardian, I turn around and look for the right square to be open. Choco is on the left, so he gets ready to slam Aksis, while Electric, who is the middle guardian, supercharges the team in the middle. Electric was actually in the wrong position here. If Aksis went inside, I would have slammed him. It would have been Electric's responsibility to cover the right square, and he wouldn't have made it in time, which is why I recommend your middle player stands on the stairs in front of me right here. In my opinion, my strategy is the most complicated of the 3 we'll cover today. The player on the left has it easy. The players on the right and in the middle have it a little tougher since they have to memorize where to go based on where Aksis teleports to. It's systematic though when it follows a pattern, so as complicated as it sounds and looks, it works when you get into a groove. The trade-off is, the players are closer to their duties under this method. The distance to travel to your Supercharge or your slam are shorter than the other methods, which you'll see is true as the video progresses. So to close out my original strategy, it is my opinion that it is the most complicated to learn and understand, but also the least likely for error once mastered. The second strategy is simpler. Instead of the players on the right and in the middle crossing areas, each player sticks to their own side and never deviates. The left and right players stand in the same spots as in my strategy. Both players are only responsible for their corner teleport and their Supercharge square, nothing else. Since the middle player is now responsible for inside and outside teleports, they don't stand beside the right side stairs like in my strategy. They stand right here, on this edge, facing inside. The concept is simple. Aksis teleports. 3 things can happen as far as the middle player is concerned. First, Aksis goes inside. You'll see that immediately since you're looking there, so you book it to him and slam him right away. Secondly, Aksis teleports behind you to the outside position. Look at my radar in this freeze frame. The red dot tells you he's behind you. In this case, turn around and slam him after you hear the Supercharge is called out. The last scenario is that Aksis goes left or right. In this case, you turn around and supercharge the square if it's available. So your process goes like this. Aksis disappears. If he doesn't appear on the inside teleport almost immediately, you turn around because there's nothing for you to do anywhere but behind you. If you see the red dot on your radar, you prepare to jump up. If you don't see that dot, you prepare to sprint at the square and discharge. This strategy, in my opinion, is the middle ground of difficulty to understand and execute. It's pretty simple since you're only responsible for covering your own area. There's no scenario analysis. Every player follows the same two-step process. Even middle has it easy because if they're not going forward, they're turning around. So even then, they only have 2 locations to cover. So I think it's simple. The problem I had with this strategy is when I was the middle player. On the initial teleport where Aksis starts in his default position, it's easy. You can see when he moves, and you know how long it takes for him to reappear, so you can gauge when you should be turning around when you haven't seen him land inside. The problem is when Aksis isn't middle. So in this clip, Aksis is right. I'm in my position, but I can't see when Aksis teleports because I don't have a line on him. I end up getting confused, I'm looking for Aksis, it turns out I had to slam inside, but I was caught looking right for too long. This happened a couple of times. Another problem is people bouncing off the ledge when jumping up, if they weren't already on it. You can save it on a hunter because of double and triple jump, but if a warlock or titan catches the ridge, they're going to miss the slam on Aksis because the speed of their elevation is slowed. In this clip, Gorilla Rob caught the ridge outside of the camera angle, but you can see how slow his ascent is because of it, causing him to miss the dunk. If he was coming from a different angle, such as to the left of the right stairs like I suggest, he'd have made it. Now, can we completely blame the strategy for these mistakes? Absolutely not. My team could have called out where Aksis was going, so I'd have known that I should have been looking for the slam inside. Further, I could have panicked less and been looking in the right area. Also, my teammates and I could take our time and just be better at making the jump. The failure is on us, not on the strategy. But my point is, you're more likely to make a mistake with this strategy than with my original one because of the sight lines and location of where I recommend players stand. I want to make it clear that this is a great and viable strategy, and many groups have already been successful using it. So when I say there's a tighter margin of error, that's just my opinion. That's not a fact. That's how I feel after running both strategies quite a few times. This last strategy comes from a fine gentleman known as Reddit user El Tumador. He has dubbed this strategy the stand on your damn plates strategy. The concept is very simple and it makes a lot of sense. The Supercharge has to come before Aksis is slammed. A lot of confusion comes from the player responsible for slamming Aksis not hearing their teammate call out Supercharge in time, causing them to miss their dunk. His idea is to have the left and right players stand on their Supercharge plate before a teleport while holding square and facing their teleport position. So like this on the right and this on the left. If Aksis teleports to your side, you'll see it because you're facing him, so you know to make a break for him. If he isn't teleporting near you, you're already holding square, and the Supercharge will activate instantly if it's on your side. The middle player doesn't stand on their square since Aksis can teleport there, which will kill you. Instead, they act the same way as the last strategy, where they sit on this ledge. There is a lot of appeal to this method. It makes a lot of communication irrelevant. In fact, you could actually run this method without uttering a single word after everyone is in position. All 3 players have a line of sight on everything they need to be looking at. This is except for the middle player, but they can turn around right away if they don't see Aksis go inside. For this reason, no one needs to call out where Aksis is going. All 3 empowered players can make decisions independently. Also, because everyone is right on or right beside their Supercharge square, they will discharge instantly. So the player slamming Aksis doesn't have to wait for a call out. They can just rush him and stun him because it's impossible for them to beat the Supercharge. The problem with this method is that players have a long run to make. I want to play a clip with the volume turned up. Really try and get into it and pretend it's you making the run. Your muscle memory knows how big the window is to slam Aksis, so you can decide for yourself how close I cut it.
He's right. Supercharge back.
In my opinion, I was in position on time, my reaction time was good, and there didn't appear to be any latency. I think the distance of that run cuts it kind of close. If you were out of position, or your reaction time was a little slow, or there's some latency in your connection, or you're sprint locked for a little longer than I was, or any combination of those things, I could see you missing the slam on Aksis. Now, just like the last strategy, this can be avoided by making sure you're in position well in advance to let your sprint cool down, making sure you're focused so your reaction time is fast, and making sure you have a good connection to the servers. My only point is, because it cuts it tighter than my original method, it's easier to make a mistake because there is a smaller margin of error. Again, just my opinion from my own personal experience. Just before I conclude, I want to answer a few frequently asked questions I've seen on the forums. Aksis never teleports to the same side as the Supercharge, so if Aksis teleports right, the Supercharge will either be left or outside. When Aksis is slammed, the Supercharge square closes, so you have to Supercharge first. However, there have been cases where the Supercharge registers shortly after Aksis is stunned. Look at the feed in this clip. You see Aksis' stun come up before I even start the Supercharge. I still managed to barely get the Supercharge off. This still counts for the challenge mode, which you'll see proof of as this clip winds down. Teams have also reported a problem they've run into. Aksis goes back to his default position when he reaches roughly 7% health. So let's say he's at 7.01% health, so just a little more health than the threshold to start the final damage phase. He teleports to any of his 4 positions, his back opens up, and so does the Supercharge square, all part of the routine. If someone shoots him before a teammate supercharges, Aksis will automatically teleport back to his default platform to start the final damage phase because he's now past his 7% health threshold. This closes the Supercharge, disallowing it. The challenge will be lost because the game counts that as technically missing a Supercharge. So to avoid this, don't shoot Aksis until the Supercharge is achieved if he's close to dying. It doesn't happen often, and I don't have footage of it because it didn't happen to us, but I thought it was worth pointing out. So there you have it, the 3 strategies I've seen and tested. Some are easy to understand, some are easy to execute. As for which one you want to use, there's no universally correct answer. This isn't a multiple choice test where B is the right answer. The right answer is the method that works for you and your team. Maybe it's my method, maybe it's El Tumador's method. I've personally been favoring El Tumador's method since we tried it out, so I'm not stressing out over which one you guys use. I'm just here to give you as many options as I can so you have the ammunition to make decisions for yourself. If you think I did a good job giving you those options, make sure to snipe that like button. Also, let me know what you think of the video. I love to hear what is and isn't working for you. And regardless of which strategy you choose, I wish you all the best. Dukaness out.